Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center and contact center podcast where we try to give you some actionable items that you can take back into your contact center, improve the overall agent quality, improve your culture, hopefully improve the customer experience. So, I got a special guest with me today. We're doing round two. I don't know if I kind of talked a little bit about it last Thursday, but I have a great friend here, amazing call center and contact center resource in Fred Shadding. We did this podcast, I guess 1.0 on Thursday, and forgot to turn my mic on. So we're gonna try to do this again, showing my podcasting amateurism, I guess. But welcome, Fred. I appreciate you kind of taking the time to kind of do this part.
No worries, man. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And I'm honored to be the inaugural first guest on Advice from the Call Center Geek. So here I am, and I hope your audience can get some value out of our discussion.
No, I appreciate that. And hey, let's just kind of dig into this. I know, we went a little bit longer last time, which was awesome, which I'd like to try to do again. So why don't you give everybody just a quick background, your company, kind of what you do, and then we'll kind of dig in so that we can kind of set the table for, I guess, your knowledge base.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the contact center industry for a little over 20 years now. Primarily, the majority of that has been on the BPO side, the outsourcer side, and having the opportunity to lead multiple business development and client services teams with a few outsourcers, both small, medium, and very large. And that has given me an opportunity to be very instrumental in the deployment of multiple outsource relationships globally around the world. I think 18 countries was my last count in terms of where I've had an opportunity to put some work. And in 2016, I decided it was time to branch off and take my next step at my halftime moment, if you will, in my career to set up the call center source, an advisory which really focuses on two sides of the house, the buyer side and the supplier side. Buyer being those organizations that are looking at outsourcing or have made the decision to outsource, and the BPOs who provide those services to help them with business development support, ultimately working as a resource to help align their thoughts and help put them in front of the right type of BPO partner and services in that regard. So, we can certainly talk more about that as well, but glad to be here, my friend.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Hey, Fred, one of the things that I get a lot, and people question it, is, that everybody hears the word broker, everyone hears the word consultant or advisor. Can you just kind of maybe steer people into kind of what you feel kind of those terms, what I guess you like to be called? I know you're more on the advisor consultant side, but when people hear broker, kind of what do those terms, I guess, kind of mean?
Yeah, yeah. So, to be candid, technically, since ultimately what a large part of what I do is putting buyers and suppliers together, I am quote unquote a broker in an element of the services that I provide. But more so, what I focus on is being a true resource, industry resource, and advisor to my clients. The term broker, I was, in most recent years, has been really associated with, kind of campaigns, folks that typically push campaigns, in certain types of industries, such as more popular ones are energy, lead gen, medical, etc. I do not do that. My focus is on enterprise level contact center relationships, helping organizations find those contact centers that are going to be an extension of their business. So, for example, my typical client profile falls, within, three typical buckets. That being a organization that currently has a contact center in-house and is looking to either augment or complement that with a BPO partner. One that currently has a BPO contact center partner that for whatever reason, maybe underperformance, just looking at someone better scale or whatever it might be, is looking to transition away from that BPO partner to another. organization that has a in-house contact center that has made the decision that they no longer want to manage and operate that operation and are looking for a partner to take over the management of that. Kind of a fourth bucket too. What I've found in the last couple years is one in which it's a VC or PE, private equity kind of funded startup that has a lot of money. And I have one particular example that I won't name yet because they won't be launching until a couple months. That are very, it's going to launch big, and they have a need for a large setup of a contact center. But you don't get that often. It's usually the first three buckets. But that's typically what I find from a broker perspective that is different is that I don't focus on kind of campaign work. I really focus on enterprise level contact centers.
I think a lot of that too is now on the outbound side, right? Not that outbound is totally dead, because there's still, we're still doing it in our contact center, but a lot of that is kind of offshore. I don't want to put anything on, like, giving a bad connotation of being shady, right? But there's that side of the business that I think kind of pushes that a little bit, with some of the stuff that's going on since all the new regs have come out.
Yeah, it's tough. The outbound world has caused a lot of pause for many BPOs, and you're right. Typically the kind of campaign work, which for the most part is a performance-based setup, where if they sell or acquire a lead and they're getting paid in that regard, is done in large part, I see, in out of the United States.
Right. Fred, I wanted to kind of, one of the things kind of resonated with me, and I think it was, your bucket number 3. And what do you see, or when you go to advise or consult, when there's a contact center that's maybe they have in-house and it's not operating to full capacity, or they don't have the technology, what are some of the things that you would say, hey, you need to outsource this, or hey, I think you guys have a good base, let's keep this in-house but do a couple extra things? Like, what are some of those things that you see to kind of push one way or the other?
Yeah, usually when folks kind of approach me with an in-house contact center, it's it usually has to do with call handling. They're challenged with either handling growth or just the dynamics of the call handling experience. That being the technology that they have, or staffing and things of that nature. So that kind of is one way in which people are drawn to me in that regard. Sometimes it's just the performance management processes that are out there. You've got people that have been in that in-house contact center for 20 years, and this is how we've done it. This is how
Right.
and sometimes in breaking that mold, they have to go outside to put somebody on task, even if it's just on an overflow basis, to say, see, if we do this with someone, here are some of the tools that we're now able to get with analytics, with performance. We aren't a 6-minute handle time organization, because we've got a partner now who's been doing this on an overflow basis and is doing it at 5 minutes handle time, and look at their quality scores. So maybe we need to find a way to position some of the things they're doing versus the others. So it's just a number of things. My role is really to kind of come in and just kind of shut up and listen, and then offer a recommendation. Sometimes it's very difficult because that path is not of least resistance, because sometimes it's an edict from above that's gotten in touch with me
Right.
to look at a contact center. And then ultimately, when you're dealing with the players who are in the contact center, there can be a brick wall, or there can be a joyous handshake and let's get this done. But it's just a observation of what the situation entails and how we move forward. But those are just some of the things.
Fred, what are some of the centers, and I guess how do you choose a partner for a partner, right? So, like, are there buckets, like, this is a good sales center, this is a good support center, this is a good tech support. Through your kind of knowledge and the knowledge base you have with the centers, how do you kind of choose the right partner for a client?
Yeah, and there really is no secret sauce. A lot of it has to come down to you staying engaged in your industry. there's also kind of like yourself, Tom. You know, as being a BPO service provider, you focus on trying to have the best performance management tools, technologies, and things of that nature as an advisor. When you flip it to me, I try to do the same thing. So I think I mentioned to you not too long ago, a couple months ago, I was over in South Africa with the trade mission of contact center executives to spend about 8 days there to understand that particular market, understand what things are going on there. Had a chance to visit with about a couple dozen contact centers and also some Fortune 500 clients who were there overseeing their program to understand a little bit more about what brought them there, who's doing what, etc. Did the same thing Central America, do it across the U.S. as well. You have to spend time in your community to understand who's doing what, where are those hidden gems. Then obviously, over time, you create a bench. Your top 10 or whoever it might be that you include in this process to be, put in there. But it's just a fit and a feel. Um, I'm not going to tell you there's any secret sauce. Well, you have to do this, and here are the key things. No, it's really, understanding who does what in what industry. Experience counts. Your network counts. So if you're looking for someone who's, very strong in consumer electronics or financial services, you can obviously look into your network of centers who are currently performing this. Reach out to them. You can look at clients that have done similar work and make those alignments and be very successful at it. So it's just keeping your feet in the game is very important to select.
And Fred, I have a note here from from our, I guess, podcast 1.0 that we did, and you were talking about, that there's roughly, kind of on last count about 1,000 different BPOs that are out there, and it is very difficult to navigate that sea when you're looking to outsource to know who's doing what and who's good and who's not.
Yeah, it's important, and I also said in that session too, I liken it to like a real estate agent, where say you're looking for a house, 4 bedroom, 3 baths, finished basement, 2-car garage, and 3,000 square feet at a certain price, right? You can certainly, what do most folks do when they are looking for a contact center partner now, right? They might go on the internet, Google, check in with your local service associate, your local association to
Right.
see who are the players in this place, and you reach out directly, and you may have some good luck with that. Um, but then, like a real estate agent, maybe you want a more strategic approach for that house, right? And you want someone who understands that market, that understands the nuances of those comps. What areas are better than others? If you locate in this area, here are the type of schools, etc. And they may come up with the top, 5 homes that you want to start with, and you can go from there. I'm very similar in that regard because what I really try to focus on is being strategic for you, just trying to understand your requirements, and we'll come up with an initial, target of centers that we can look at based on your requirements and go from there. And it's not prohibitive for you to bring anyone else into the process, but we've been very successful in that regard, and I think it's very important to find someone or be very strategic in that approach.
Fred, as kind of technology has been kind of evolving and things obviously are really rapidly changing, have you seen a difference or what functions do you see as commonly being outsourced? Is it a specific channel? Is it a specific call type, business type? Is there something that kind of stands out from that standpoint?
The typical buckets you see are customer service, sales, tech support. Um, Overflow is generally a gateway approach to outsourcing, and within that, you have your email and chat and all the things that kind of drop down into that. I would say, it's those customer facing sales are typically your most common ones in the customer facing role. So, warranty support, kind of where's my order support, things of that nature are typically those that kind of fall through.
Fred, do you see from a technology standpoint as well? I know a lot of internal call centers. They're kind of stuck from a budgetary standpoint, or whatever the execs, whatever they kind of value is kind of what trickles down to the contact center. But is there some of the newer technology like speech analytics, those types of things, do you see a need for those when a customer comes to you and says, hey, this is where our technology platform is, or do they not know what they don't know? Like, I guess, what's the level of expertise when it comes to that? Are they asking for certain things, or are they kind of surprised with some of the things that are out there?
It's a mix. There are some very astute clients that know specifically what they want. Fred, this is what I want. I want somebody who's got speech analytics that has the ability to integrate AI. They're on the money, right? And then there are those that are, here's what we're doing. We're a 20-year-old company. We've had our call center for 15 years. Things seem to be going well, but we have made the decision not to enhance our technology, and so let's see what we can find, right? And so everything from that point on with that particular customer is like a surprise and delight, right?
Right.
They're still getting, what they think are great reporting, which can be sent via email every 30 minutes instead of having a portal they can go on and look in real time and see graphs and things like that. But in that case, they know only what they know, right?
Right.
So technology is great. All the things you said, like speech analytics, and I try to be, very, in my role, kind of step back and not very purposeful with what I recommend. But I love speech analytics. I love the things that does and the different tools that it provides clients. But I think it's really important for clients to kind of look at that, and more specifically look at who's working the equipment, because that's one thing that I've always stood firm by, with regards to technology. It's not about the technology brand or kind of who you're using, but like who is working the equipment, because it still is very important that you have people like you, Tom, and strong agents and associates and strong IT people that know how to leverage it. And so in that process of evaluating centers, I take a very good look at how the tools that they do have in place are being leveraged across their clients, because you could have multiple centers that have very similar technology, but I'm seeing this center is kicking butt, and this center over here, they've got very similar technology, if not the same technology, and they're just doing okay. So what's the difference when you talk to these managers or the owner or the IT guy? They're gun ho and look at this new trick we found, or look at how we could leverage this, or look at how we could do that. So the little things when you go into a setting are kind of who's working the equipment, right? And how are they leveraging it, and what are some of the ways they get excited about it and use that in your client relationships.
I think that kind of goes pretty well. I do this little 15-second call center tip of the day, just trying to play around with some TikTok, and on that platform, and that's kind of what I talked about today was, so many of us don't utilize even the technology that we have. We're always like, hey, what's next? But then we don't realize that we're only using 25% of really of what we have, and you really got to dig down into even what you have, and because I guarantee you, not most platforms are pretty darn good. Some are better than others, but it really does come down to the use case, to the drive, to the the want to of the center to really kind of capitalize on a lot of stuff that they already have. Hey, Fred, I want to take a trip because you're a really cool person to talk this through, because you have placed business all around the world. You have been to centers all over the world. You kind of understand the differences when it comes to quality, when it comes to pricing. And obviously this is a question that a lot of people have is, can you kind of take a trip maybe starting in the States and let's talk about pricing, pricing when it comes to outsourcing as you're kind of moving from onshore to nearshore to offshore to, far offshore, and kind of how you see that playing out from a quality and from a price perspective?
Yeah, side if we decide to stay home or if we go overseas. So with that, let's start at home, right? So in the U.S., obviously we have a very strong economy, stable, very strong workforce. Depending on the U.S. city that you ultimately select for your center, you can have a great complement of language support, like some of the far east and west coast cities, and also in Texas and Florida. You obviously have a very strong Latin population, and then a commingling of other European languages as well. So those might be cities that look at there. But let's look at price. Take I'll just say the general of generalists customer service program with an agent skill set that has about 1 to 3 years of experience. You're generally going to find in a competitive range in the U.S. pricing that falls around 27 to 30 bucks an hour. That's typically what you see. And to have a starting expectation on price in the U.S. Then, as we go further south, let's take it to Central America, Mexico on down to say Panama. The price range is going to be pretty wide depending on which of those countries that you go to. It's going to fall somewhere between like 10 and let's say $17 an hour. Mexico is very aggressive in pricing. So is Guatemala. So you're going to have some real strong favorability in pricing in those areas and scale in language as well. In South America, I'd probably say the two strongest markets, for U.S. support that I'm seeing right now, continue to be Colombia and Argentina. Over the last several years, Guyana has emerged, very low cost, excellent English. Actually, probably the only native English speaking country in South America. So that's become interesting. Scale is something you have to consider in certain of those markets as well. So that pricing in that area is going to typically fall somewhere between like $10 to $16 an hour as well, depending on the type of function you need, English, Spanish, etc. If we go over to the EU, and in Europe and UK, that's going to be an interesting market for a U.S. client because typically you don't find a lot of U.S. programs being serviced out of the EU, UK, because typically when you go out of the U.S., there's a cost play that's usually involved in that, save for those opportunities where you have specific needs for language support, or it may be a U.S. corporation that may have offices or a larger customer base in those markets, and therefore they need EU and UK support to support those customers over there. But generally, you don't see, because pricing in those markets is going to be north of $30 an hour. So it's going to be very expensive if you look at it from a business model of supporting U.S. based customers with those type of with the EU based centers. So typically, it's kind of regional support in those areas, or specific language support, which you might need in scale to support a large cluster of those in language customers.
Like maybe like the Nordic languages or things like that.
Correct. Going down to Africa, and again, I had a very good trip there. Learned a lot. Actually, one of the things I learned, which I found, which has brought me a lot of optimism for Africa, is the fact that they are now in a very price competitive situation with the two major offshore markets, that being India and Philippines. And I say major because in terms of great scale that you can get over and over, in those markets, it was very difficult to find until recent years. About 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it was, the World Cup came to South Africa, and what that did, it provided an infrastructure that was left behind by the World Cup because they put in quite a bit of telco infrastructure, which significantly reduced the cost of telco for the BPO space there, which is not a new space. It's been around for 20 plus years, but for many years it was cost prohibitive as an offshore market like the Philippines and India in large scale because of its telco costs. Since that time, it is now right in the mix with Mexico, with Philippines. It's like $10 to $13 said, I've met with a couple major Fortune 500 clients there that have got hundreds of seats now deployed within the last 3 years, and others that were coming over. And the English there, it's a different kind of English, right? It's one that is very appealing to an American customer. Just think mixed between UK and Australia.
Yeah, that's
And it's
awesome.
very, I mean, we kind of get, I mean, that's what we want on our voicemails, right?
Right,
You know,
right.
so when you think about that, that's why I have a lot of optimism because we've been kind of waiting on the next kind of big market to open itself up, and I think there's a lot of play there. But again, when you look at all these markets, um, you know, it's still very noisy. So it's kind of like you need to know who to go to. You need to understand who are the players in these different regions, because it's very noisy. And that's kind of when I get back to that real estate approach. It's like you can go online, you can, talk to, a few people, but you kind of just need somebody to help guide you, in the right direction. Someone who's kind of, put boots into the centers and boots on the ground to say, hey, boom.
Fred, do you still see the kind of that Indian and that kind of Asian, the Philippines as a I mean obviously they're still a huge player, but is that waning? Is that still a huge play? How do those guys come in or are still in the mix?
I mean, it's still strong countries. I mean, they've got great infrastructure, great government support, um, you know, great skill set. I mean, it is still a destination. I think if you looked at the curve of, say, the U.S. call center market and those two markets, because they've been in the industry now as long as they have, and they've got just about as much experience as in terms of capabilities to perform as would a center in the U.S. I would say if you looked at the bell curve of maturity, they're probably approaching the maturity that the U.S. contact center market is at. I know that's probably going to stress some people out, but I'm saying maturity in terms of what
Right.
they can do and how they can do it. In terms of whether they're going to grow another 2 or 3x over the next 10 years, that remains to be seen. I would say with other markets like South Africa, with technologies coming out like AI and a bunch of cost reduction, platforms and strategies that are being deployed, I would say maybe not. I would say you have to look at the kind of smart outsourcing and maturity that is occurring in the industry and what consumer behaviors are looking like. But I think they've reached a very mature level in their capabilities. I've been to both those countries. Brilliant,
What
brilliant folks
what do you
there.
what do you see as cost factors then in both of those places now?
You mean
Yeah,
pricing or?
pricing, correct. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So like India, I mean, if you go back office, you can get pricing, as low as probably $7, $8. Um, but on average, I would say the range there is still very consistent with most offshore markets. If you want a good quality performing, vendor, it's going to be somewhere between $10 and $15 an hour, probably in many cases, south of $15. But in terms of making sure you find a good quality vendor that can scale, that can put the money behind it, um, if you stay within that range, you'll probably have a good find.
Fred, and then the last thing on this topic is, I know that there's an emerging kind of Eastern European market. I get, kind of hit up on LinkedIn constantly by a lot of those guys and guys that own those centers. What do you kind of see as that market? Kind of that Western, Russian, Baltic, Albania, that kind of space and play.
It's been around for a while, that I know. What you know, with the Eastern European market for a good portion of its emergence was kind of like the European offshore, European nearshore, if you will, because of the language, because of the cost structure, because of the alignment with those cultures. Kind of like North Africa, like Tunisia and Morocco,
Mm-hmm.
were offshore to French and European because of the language component there. But the quality of English, it still presented a very, it presented an accent. I'm not going to say strong, but one that might not have been as appealing as they would have liked in the U.S. Not to say that there aren't work being done in North Africa, because there is, and in Eastern Europe because there is in the U.S., but it's not in large scale like some of the countries that I mentioned before. Great for language, support, because I know in like Turkey and a couple others, you get a whole lot of different languages as
Right.
well. But I would say you're seeing some campaign work, a lot of campaign work coming out of there, which again is not an area that I kind of focus on. You're seeing some back office work. I see a lot of virtual receptionist work coming out of there, which is good because again, it's kind of like this, kind of like the South African accent I talked about. It's kind of cool to have a small business and you hire a virtual receptionist that has a foreign language.
Right. Right.
We get excited about the silliest things, but I see a lot of stuff out of that. I just haven't seen a big scale push, in the U.S. That is obviously it's made its bread and butter on EU support, and UK support and stuff like that, languages. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah. No.
I know I'm going to get hit up by some of my partners who are
Right.
and some others, but again, I just have to stay agnostic. This is Fred Shadding's view. This is one data point, ladies and gentlemen. But it's kind of what I see, based on the enterprise level contact center advisory that I do.
It's such an interesting
It's
topic.
there, but
Yeah.
find the right fit.
Right. It's such an interesting topic, to think about, even how 20 years or 15 years and how things have evolved and how the world is kind of so much, I guess, closer. But hey, man, I really appreciate it. If you, I appreciate you kind of taking the time here too to kind of, wisen us up on some of this stuff that I know I think is pretty interesting. And anybody who's listening to this podcast is definitely a hardcore call center person. So I'm sure that they would find pretty interesting too. Can you maybe just talk to people and let people know if anybody's interested in talking to you, getting a hold of you, what's best methods or phone number or whatever you'd like to give. And guys, I'll put this kind of in the show notes as well.
Yeah, as you know, Tom, and I'll tell everybody, I walk through the LinkedIn door every morning. So, and is the best way to reach me. Shoot me an invite or a direct mail. Be glad to have a side conversation with you or share any thoughts. My email is fred@thecallcentersource.com, all one word, and my direct office line is 240-696-4111, and my website is thecallcentersource.com, all one word. And be glad to chat.
All right, Fred. Hey, I appreciate it. And then, guys, is just kind of the closing. I just want to thank again everybody. We've hit over 25,000 downloads of the podcast, which is pretty awesome. It is continuing to grow. I'm sure that this episode will do extremely well with even again having